What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Did y'all see that? What?
Let's just throw Scream 6 in there for like
It
my
was
favorite
good.
movie. It was really good. The best of the franchise, in my opinion, since the first one.
Yeah.
Gabrielle Walsh, welcome back inside the Crazy Ant Farm. How are you?
I'm well, Dustin. How are you?
Oh, living the dream as always, and super excited that you're coming back in because, wow, a lot has happened since the last time we chatted. Just with everything, not with just the show and Lacey and all those but with you in life. You've been doing some stuff. You've been busy, and I can't wait to talk about all of it because, as you know, I love following you. I love seeing everything that you do, not just with your work, but within the community and how you are as a human being. And can't wait to just dive into all of that with you. So thank you so much for coming back on.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. And I enjoy your post as well. It just like they're beautiful reminders and insight into like what we do, what we deal with in the industry. And I think it's very important.
Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate your support and sharing them sometimes. I love that. All right, I want to have time to talk about some other stuff. So let's dive into Found because I think that if I'm not mistaken, the last time we chatted, Lacey had just been taken by Sir. And I was really upset. I literally started a hashtag, if Lacey dies. I was like, we're going at it. We are like, it's not going to happen. What an incredible little arc there for those few episodes. I thought the dynamic between you and Mark Paul was just absolutely phenomenal. That emotion, I feel like everybody was on the edge of their seat the entire time. So I want to start there because I know in our last interview we had talked about how we separate that when we go home from those dark storylines, right? Because that can play into the mental health aspect, especially when you're dealing with something so dark like that. So let's talk about that because he roughed you up a little bit, and it was very in the head and very dynamic and dark for Lacey. So talk about your approach to that a little bit.
Yes. So I think when we last talked, it was, or on here at least, it was just like he was in the closet, but we didn't know what was going on.
Yes.
And in my head, I'm like, no, they can't have him take her. Like they wouldn't do that to her, right? They wouldn't do that to me. No. But no, when I sat down with NK, she's like, oh yeah, girlfriend, you're taken and we're going there. And I was like, well, hell yeah. Like as an artist, you're just like, wow, you want those roles that really like grow and stretch you and you know get to pull those things out of you. It's terrifying at the same time, like I think that it's I want to bring truth to whatever I'm playing, whatever
That's
role
right.
I'm playing. But in handling just the gravity of the subject matter of what we're dealing with here, like somebody who is being taken, their freedom is being taken.
Right.
And not only just that, they're being re-traumatized by somebody who was this like boogeyman in their life that now has in real time manifested at such a like confusing time too with, you see Gabby, her sister, her, best friend, her comrade, it just like, shocked her with this news of having taken him, and then she gets taken herself. So I wanted to make sure that I took care of those elements in the history of, that Lacey and Sir dynamic. NK is so intentional in the way that she shares things with us as to, like, well, one, what young Bella was going through in the beginning of the series. You get to see like some of those things that she was dealing with and now dealing with this new dynamic of what the reality is, even him just being there.
Right.
So how I approach my work is I delve into different things of my own experience and traumas and things to be able to bring a level of reality to the work, and then I heighten them depending on what we're going through. I heighten them depending on the circumstances. So I definitely had to heighten them in a big way because I wanted to make sure to capture the fear of what
Definitely.
that is, the strength, the survival, and Mark Paul. Working with him was such a pleasure. I feel like he just, that he's a seasoned actor, and the gravity, the grounding that he brings to the work. And I watch him and Chinola, and I'm just like, all right, I'm taking in, I'm always like learning and taking in how do I approach this moment? How do the masters, the experts, like approach this moment? And just even in the first scene that we had together, no, it wasn't the first scene. I think it was the second scene that we had together where, you know, we're in the home, his old home,
Right.
and you know, he's like got the injury and he's cleaning himself, and Lacey's there and she's kind of like figuring out and assessing, you know, what the next move is, how to like get into his head to get whatever she needs to be able to survive this moment. um, I really got to see, even though I was tied to the chair, like how he set up the scene,
Yeah.
how he, you know, made sure to take the time. Because sometimes as beginning actors, we can just be like, all right, well, at least me, I'm gonna do what I'm told. I'm gonna, you know, like where do you need me? I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be great, you know?
Yeah.
You know, really taking your time to set up and find out those particular things, like, okay, where does this glass go? Where, you know, like I'm gonna start here. Let me kind of feel out this moment, because then when you're in it, you get to just play, you get to
Mm.
glide, you get to be free. You find that structure so you can be able to like lose it and take command of the space, because you know, in that space, you're being asked to hold something that's quite serious.
Yeah.
And in order for it to be impactful, you have to have that clarity and you have to take control. And so that energy and working with him was just like, it was amazing. And I mean, I was terrified too to be putting a needle to Mark Paul's back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So yeah.
Not exactly much acting there.
No, and I wanted to talk about that because the dynamic there of she's terrified, she's trying to process, okay, I'm in this situation, is he going to kill me? Is he not going to kill me? How am I going to get out of here? And yet she's still worried about making sure somehow that he's okay, right? And that's that real dynamic with Lacey and Gabby. It's like all the stuff that this man has done to them, they are still genuine to who they really are, and it's like, well, do you think she was concerned about his safety a little bit, or was it a survival mode of I need to make sure he's okay to get out of there?
No, I think if Lacey could have, she would have stabbed him in the neck. Um, no, I think that there is a level of, you know, like there's a level of disgust and you know, like I think if there is any darkness in Lacey, it exists in the Sir space.
Right,
Like if
right.
he was going to, if she hadn't passed out, she probably would have stabbed him, you know,
I love that.
when she was getting free. She would have stabbed him and then probably would have regretted that for the rest of her life.
Yeah,
She even talked about, you know, like having been like, I should have killed him when I had the chance. And Gabby has to stop her, like, hey, you know, remember who you are. Like, this is not who you are. You think you would be this person, but you find out, you know, like how dark that is and you can't go back.
yeah.
Speaking from her own experience. I think Lacey, like it was definitely like a tactic. Like when you had said like she cares for him, I'm like my stomach literally turned so like connected.
So,
I've been with Lacey.
well, fantastic, because I wanted
Yeah.
to know from your insight how you approach Lacey. And I love that they give you guys some backstory and that they're delving more into Lacey's backstory.
Yes.
So that we can kind of see how he terrified her basically her whole youth.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was really and then the whole dynamic between Lacey and Gabby and having to forgive Gabby for kidnapping him and like what you didn't tell me, kind of, so that whole dynamic brought into it also kind of played a twist to it. So on top of the trauma of being taken by Sir, now you're feeling like, I guess, jilted by the one person you thought you could trust that would never lie to you, right?
Yeah, I think that, well, it starts out there. And then after that, you know, once he takes her, it's all survival mode, not thinking about being upset with Gabby or anything
Right.
like that. It's all about survival. So, how Lacey approaches like those moments, it's like, how do I get to this person to get him to be off of his game? Because you know, she resents him. She has, you know, like she hates him, but she's not unaware that this man is brilliant. He's an intelligent
That's right.
mind. And getting ahead of him is going to be difficult. So when she decides to like sew him up, she knows to play a little bit on his ego, because his ego is such a big thing for him,
Yeah.
to get him to allow her to be free for a second, and play on his ego again to push his buttons, to be able to steal the scissors, I believe. Oh, no, the needle, one of the
Yes.
needles, to be able to, wiggle herself free. So, there was like a fine line of like what that is and how to approach it, how to repress some of the like resentment and hatred for this person, but then and the fear, but then also like how do I get ahead of this person that has clearly been ahead of the game most of the time, as much as Lacey would hate to admit it's the truth.
Yes, without doubt, and everything, and this is why I love, because I don't know how far in advance you get copies of the scripts or know what's coming, but to know that she then goes into this thing where she's terrified to be alone, and the whole dynamic of the after effect of what happened to her, and that leading to the relationship with Zeke, if anybody hasn't seen this week's, maybe not, relationship with Zeke. I don't know how I feel about
Relationships are
that.
complicated. They're
Yeah,
complicated, right? And
that,
these characters are very complicated. It's not
without
like sort of like your
doubt.
cookie cutter A to B to C to D, and then we end up at the end of the alphabet and everybody's getting married and happy with life.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
story does not end there.
No.
And yeah.
Yeah. Were you excited for that storyline to kind of evolve? I know the last time we talked, you were talking about Arlen and how everything is on the set and all these kind of fun stuff. Were you excited to see that there was potential for that storyline to develop and see where that would go, to play with that relationship?
Yeah, I think like listen, we deal with so much darkness in here. You need a little bit of love like sprinkled on
Yes.
in there. And we know Gabby's such a complicated cat that that her relationship with Trent or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if she would ever allow this space. And then you have the toxic relationship with her and Sir in this thing. My mother, by the way, she's like, they just need to get together and just like call it a. I'm like, Ma, you can see your toxic
That's right.
relationship ship status from that comment, Mom. He's her captor. She's like, well, we all need one of those. I'm like, oh my
Oh,
Lord,
my goodness. All right.
help
Yeah.
us, help us. So I was excited to see that. Like Arlen's like a brother to me. We have so much fun. I feel like on set and through the work we really connect with the hearts of our characters.
Hmm.
We're able to see that, and he's so childlike himself. Like he still watches what he watches. If you go into his trailer or you ask him what he watches in his in between time, it's like the Ninja Turtles, it's these like cartoons. And so he brings a lot of that to Zeke, and I think Lacey has so much of that as well, and so
Yeah.
do I. So it's like seeing these two people who have this light, who are these adult kids in a way, trying to like figure it out and figure it out together. Like that connection is really beautiful and
Yeah.
innocent way. And we need that. We need that in this complicated world that we're dealing with. And like you were saying, like we don't know what's gonna happen. We, these given that bond and that they found with each other, it's also, there's these two people kind of dealing with traumas, and where they have found themselves or found their clarity have been through these cases.
Right.
And now the dynamic is changing. Like you go from being friends to like being into each other to like being physical. It's like what do we do here? What does this mean? How do we act here? I know I ask 50 million questions. Sometimes I'm like, do I see like us getting married? What are my vows? Was I practicing that? Oh, that's too much.
Wow. Okay. Already with the vows. That's a little far ahead, but yeah.
I'm a girl, and I mean, I know I'm not speaking for myself here,
Yeah.
but like sometimes when you're into someone, you think so far down the
Oh, for
road. You
sure.
like imagine these, grandiose things. And then like for Lacey, it's that scary. Like you don't not necessarily like marriage or whatever that is. Just sort of the shift in this dynamic of a person who was her best friend.
Right.
Like what does that mean? How many relationships have these people really had
Yeah.
given what they've been through?
That's
You
right.
know, it's hard, it's messy, and hopefully they'll find their way or just find more of themselves and what they need, right?
Absolutely. And I like how you say that too, because, I look at it as these people are all broken and trying to figure out how to fit together broken pieces for something whole. that can be tough sometimes. And I think that, the way that everything, the writing and the way you guys all approach it on the show is a beautiful thing. And the connectability is there. I think that's why I enjoy the show so much, because I can resonate with the characters. You guys do a brilliant job of bringing it forward to where you can feel for them. Even Sir, he's that guy where you want to hate, but then you
Lacey, like,
understand. Yeah, yeah. No, not Lacey. Lacey, clearly, as we've established. But that background
yeah.
that he had and knowing where he came from to get to who he is. And so I think that's what makes the best villains too, are the villains that think they're doing the right thing for the right reasons, even though they're
Yes.
clearly insane, right?
I love a good anti-hero story.
Yes,
I
yeah,
love
same.
it so much because as people we're complicated. We're not all light, we're not all darkness. There's like, like there's so much like within us and trust me, whatever you believe that you're like not capable of, like is probably what you might fall victim to. So finding ourselves in these seemingly unredeemable characters, I think is really a really beautiful thing, no matter if you necessarily agree with what they're doing or not.
That's
It's
right.
just gaining more perspective, a full rounded scope of like who this person is and the things that led them down this path.
That's right. And I love that you talked about how what he watches in the trailer and how you have a little bit of that and stuff too, because I think that, we all if especially if you've ever been through any trauma young, right, in your life, we all need to revisit that inner child every now and then, right? And play a little bit in life and recapture some of that and figure out what did we need then that we could use now as adults. And so I love the fact that you brought that up. And I want to talk about that too, because the show does a really good job, but you in general as a person, the awareness that you bring for mental health and the advocacy, you're every day I see you, and you are putting out light to the world about, hey, we're all in this together, we can get there, we're okay. And I think that's so important, because normalizing conversations about mental health, I think, is necessary, right? And I know we talked about this a little bit before about how we can use our platform with our art to start those conversations. But it needs to go beyond that. It needs to be where we are out there, not just saying, but living what we're saying and putting it out there, right? So, and you do a beautiful job of that. So talk about, and I know, we've discussed in the past some of the stuff that you had gone through early on in your life, being a young mom, losing her dad, and all the stuff. So talk about why it's so important to you still, and because you do such a beautiful job of letting people know that they are seen and not alone. So talk about why it's so important to you still.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you. Yeah, well, what you were saying earlier about we need to go back into that inner child, right?
Right.
Um, I don't think anybody in this life escapes some trauma in childhood.
That's right.
It may look different for everyone, but we are we aren't able to make certain choices for ourselves, and so we have to kind of succumb to life happening to us
Hmm.
and deal with it and process it and all those things that we'll probably continue to be dealing with and processing until we leave this earth. It's just hopefully on that path you find tools and mechanisms and things that help you see more clearly and see you more clearly. And so what I experienced, in my childhood was like feeling that lack of being seen,
Yeah.
feeling lost, not understanding myself, not understanding the life, like the life that was happening around me, and some of the things that I was experiencing in terms of like whether it was like with family or friends and betrayals and things. I'm like, why is this happening? Like, what did I do? Because as a kid, everything is about you.
Right.
Everything you take it on as you, and that it's your fault. And it's such a tough place to be. And as we grow, I would love to say that we like we separate that, but the ego is a powerful thing and can be, arrogance, it can be victimhood, everyone has one, and it affects how we view and see the world. And so we really have to break that down and understand who we are beyond these limited beliefs that we have formed. And so that little girl that felt lost, felt like she didn't belong, felt like she wasn't seen or heard,
Yes.
is who I carry with me when I go in to do this work, is who I carry with me when I'm thinking about speaking and connecting with different individuals, because I know what that felt like, to feel
Exactly.
invisible, to feel crippled by fear. And it's not only like a one-time thing, right? Like I had that when I was younger, but it's definitely something that throughout the years, even up until this point, that I've had to battle and break out of. You think I used to think, let me just speak for myself. I used to think that like once you like hit a goal or whatever, like you've arrived,
Yeah,
right? Like
right.
all the problems and the things are done, like you figured it out.
That's right.
You the right things, and now like life is free and clear and ain't nothing gonna happen. Boy, is that so
So
wrong.
wrong. That's right.
Well, one, because like listen, like I've like kept this thing about like growth and personal growth, and like grow until you die, because the world is so vast and full of so many things, and the more that I know that I don't know.
That's right.
And I don't want to get so caught up and blinded and stuck in the way that I feel things are, that I miss it, and I miss life, and I miss myself, because I don't know. I feel like sometimes I've led 10 different lives in this one life at
Yes. Yeah.
times, the shifts and the things that happen. And so when you're able to like have a have sort of like that thing of like, all right, I'm growing, I'm learning, I lose myself to find myself, to lose myself again to find myself, that you always end up finding yourself in the end. And I just hope to share in some of the tools and the ways that I've discovered that and found that and continue to discover and find that in this life.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love every aspect of what you just said. It's the one piece of advice as a dad, I early on tried to instill in my daughter, that if you ever get to the point where you feel like you know everything and you've learned that, you're done. Life is done. So don't ever get to that point. Continuously grow, continuously learn, continuously feel, and make mistakes, because mistakes are part of it, right? You can't find out who you really are without failing. And I think that's so critical. And I love that I think the one thing that I really, really, really like about you, and that you do so passionately, is you make people feel seen, whether it's through your social media, whether it's in an interview like this, whether it's in real life, face to face. And I think sometimes it's something as simple as that can change a life, right? Because I think before you can look inward and see yourself, sometimes you need to know that someone else sees you. Otherwise, you don't have that spark to find yourself. And you do that. You bring that light, and you open up that darkness. And I think if you can do that just for one person, and change that life by making a simple comment, or recognizing them, or giving them a voice for a minute or two to say, you're okay, and I'll speak for you if you can't speak. That is so important, and you do such a beautiful job with that in your life. And I see how you conduct yourself as a mother, and just as a human being. And I think it's why you gravitate so well towards people in your career, and the projects that you're doing, and why people associate with you. But beyond that, yeah, I think you're a phenomenal actress, no doubt, and I enjoy everything you've done. But it's more of, you're a phenomenal human being, and that's why I enjoy talking to you so much, and why every opportunity that I get, I will take it, because we need more people like you. And just continue to keep doing that. Continue to keep shining that light, and helping people, because if we're here for such a short period of time. I literally, right before we started recording this interview, one of my childhood friends, best friend for life, said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know I had a heart attack Monday, and it was a bad one, and I almost didn't make it, and they had to put 4 stents in." And he knew it hit home because I had lost my brother and father to heart attacks. I've had 3 heart attacks, and so he knew. And it was a stark reminder of tomorrow could be it, today could be it. And if we're not out there living that life and just being, yeah, we just need to live that life and do what we can to help people because we're all in this thing together, right?
Yeah, yeah, Dustin, yes. Like,
Yes.
listen, like all this life that you're speaking into me, like, thank you, but and that's what you're doing.
Well, thank
That's
you.
what you're doing right here. Like you just spoke so much life into me, and we need that. We need people who see us. We need people who see us more than we see ourselves at times. They see our potential. They see what we're capable of. Like you and your platform and how you utilize your platform, even stretching into the mental health space to
Yeah.
give a more in-depth approach as to what is needed or required, or just to share some things that could possibly work with someone so they feel seen, so they feel heard. Like you do it consistently on your platform in the way that you speak, like and it shows. Like your network has grown
Yeah.
throughout.
Yeah, I think we saw success, but it was success strictly as we're making movies and people who like movies follow us and all that. But it's when we started opening up personally about life, it really took
Yeah,
off. And my
yeah,
son-in-law approach it with everything we do. It's like the stories that we tell as filmmakers, the guests we try to have on the show. It's all about providing a voice for people who don't have a voice and seeing people who don't feel seen. So
yeah.
yeah.
And well, thank you too for just even right now, I'm so sorry about like your friend and what they're going through. I'm so happy that they're still with
Me
us, like
too.
that they're still with us.
Me
But what
too.
you said was just so important, in terms of just like, we don't know. Tomorrow's not promised. I just told my friend, I called her up. I'm like, hey, what we gonna do for my birthday?
That's
And
right.
she was like, well, like maybe like after or something. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna live to tomorrow. Let's figure it out today.
That's right. That's right.
No, no matter like what, is going on health wise, you don't know how much time you have left.
You don't.
And that's important too with what you bring as well, like this transparency.
Yeah.
The transparency of like, hey, this is going on. I don't have it all figured out. And that's what really like connects us, because we get Instagram, we get these things and we see the highlight reels of people's life, and
That's exactly right.
they're glorious. But like understanding like so many of the people that we admire, they have a whole story and a behind the scenes that you're not exactly seeing. So while you're like sitting there and you're comparing yourself to their highlight reel, you are always going to stay in the darkness. Even if you compare yourself to your own highlight reel. You know
That's
what I mean?
exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly. It's one of the main reasons we started the mental health podcast. It's like because as filmmakers, you're seeing, oh wow, they're on set, or they cast this person, or they're doing that. But we're real people going through real problems and dealing with real things. And here's
You
our
know?
real life. So follow this one too, because this is what we're really dealing with. That was an awesome day, and it is a memory I'll never forget. But it's also this. And a great example of that is when the day my brother died. It's like one of the worst days. I carry it with me all of the time. And I usually for 20 plus, almost 30 years, lock myself in a room on that day and refuse to come out and acknowledge people. I just want to be alone. And my son-in-law is like, why don't we do the premiere of our film on that day? Let's change this to a positive and make it a memory, because would your brother want you to do that, or would he want you to be happy? So let's change the narrative and celebrate that. And that's what we did. And I'm sure you know.
Yes.
I'm sure you know, right?
Yes.
Your
I love
circle,
that.
your circle sometimes, right? It
What
wasn't a
was that?
popular decision amongst everybody, right? A couple of members of my family were like, "How dare you?" And I'm like, "But this
Oh,
is,
really? Oh, that's
oh yeah,
unfortunate. Not everybody's gonna have the same vision as you or
that's
understand
right.
what that is.
That's right. It
You
was the healing of that to allow it to finally be a happy day as opposed to a miserable day was life changing, and it's little steps like that. And so,
And
yeah,
you know what, Dustin? They're not going to understand you, and that is okay.
exactly.
Because, like, for my father's funeral, I'm not sure if I had shared this with you guys last time. I can't remember. But for my father's funeral, I wanted to make sure that it was a celebration of life,
Yes,
that it
yes,
really commemorated, like, the the impact, the experience of what he left in this world of light. Of course, it's, you know, a mourning. Of course, we're like having this moment for not necessarily for him, but for us to have that closure. And I wanted that closure to be in celebration.
Yes.
Although, you know, like it was so hard. I'm like, I'm burying the person who brought me into this world, you
That's
know,
right.
who raised me, who has been my anchor and support system for all this time. So I didn't wear black at his funeral. Even in the church, like I wore white. I'm like, I want to change the narrative of what this is to what, you know, like to what I desire to experience. Like I know that. I mean, and like listen, like I screamed in the car. I like cried profusely. I went and I felt like I was like my soul was going to be sucked out of my body with how much grief I was experiencing.
Yeah.
Like in this moment here, no matter what was like going on, I just wanted to make sure that I had this for just the impact that he had on my life, to change the narrative of what he, you know, gifted me in this
That's
experience. I'm
right.
sure your brother gifted you to celebrate his life and how you're continuing with yours.
Yes, and you know, the analogy I'll use to that is with you wearing white instead of black. You are that phoenix rising from the ashes. You are bringing light to the darkness, right? And I think that's how we all escape the darkness is light. Somebody's got to shine that light, whether it's ourselves or someone else at first. But if we
Yeah.
can keep bringing the light, we're gonna help a lot of people. And I hope that's what, you know, I'm gonna keep trying, and I know you are because
Yeah,
that's
in
just who you
turn, like
are.
help ourselves. It
That's
all,
right.
you know, there's reciprocity in giving. Giving is a gift, they say. Giving is a gift.
That's right.
Because yeah, because you, well, one, you just appreciate things. Connection is everything. And when we give, we find ourselves not only connected to other people, but connected to a more impactful part of our own being in
Correct.
return. And even like in speaking some of these things that we talk about, like it helps us heal, it helps us process as others are processing. And hopefully we can be that for each other and continue as we continue to shine the light on, we shine the light in.
That's right. Oh, okay. Thank you so much for coming on and just I knew it would be another great conversation just because every time you speak, yeah, I can listen to you all day long. And just it's fantastic.
Same, but I mean, I keep saying same, but like seriously, like just you sharing and stuff. I was like, oh wow.
It's just
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I just I came to a realization a long time ago that's just be authentic, be you. People will like it or they won't, but you got to be you, and that's
Don't
just how
mind your
I live my
business.
life. So, you know,
Yeah. Well, I love, you know, like I've done some like other interviews, but every time like we talk, I just feel like so connected because you're so connected, you know,
well,
and I really, really appreciate that. Like it's beyond just asking the questions and getting a response. It's
yeah,
like, and it's an engagement. It's a conversation,
and
and it's a conversation with heart, you know?
and
So
that's
I,
important to me. That's important to my son-in-law. It's how we kind of approach everything. It's like we can do the standard Q&A and we can ask about this or ask about that, but let's get real. Let's share with people to connect with people and find out what it's all about because you know there's always a story there. And let's find out the story. We know we probably doing our research know the answers to the questions, so let's find the story. Let's find out what we
yeah.
don't know. And so to have that connectability in those conversations, that's important to us, and I appreciate you saying that. It lets me know that we're at least doing it well. So, you know, listen, I'm hoping this thing gets another season. It needs to get another season, and I'm just continued success for everything that you are doing and everybody involved in that show. Um, and I
Thank
hope to
you.
see a lot more of you everywhere. I just keep doing it, keep doing what you're doing, and thank you for just being you.
Thank you. Same, Dustin. Same.
Appreciate you. Take
Always a
care.
pleasure.
Yep.